These special prosecutor investigations usually start with an underlying supposition that a crime was committed. And then they investigate that, and then they move on to a second level of investigation, which never would have happened if the initial investigation hadn't been taking place in the first place. And that's where we're at now in the Trump-Russia investigation. No longer is it really a question of did Trump collude with the Russians to influence the election. It's did he order Comey not to go after Flynn? Did he tell Comey to mitigate the investigation, to clear him, to prematurely dissipate the cloud over his administration? All of these process crimes. And soon I'm sure we're going to be listening to, did this aide tell the truth? Did Trump instruct this aide what to say? Did he testify voluntarily or truthfully and stuff like that? None of it having to do with the underlying issue of importance, which is did Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump come to a deal to get Trump elected president so he could go easy on Putin? That's what the deal is. But nobody's talking about that anymore because there's no evidence of it. There's no indication that it happened. There's nothing even close to an indication that it happened. All there is circumstantial evidence of meetings at a lower level, many of them after the election, and no evidence that anything unusual happened in those meetings. Just routine meetings between a senator on the Armed Services Committee and the Russian ambassador, or between the president's son-in-law and a banker who'd financed his deals in the past, who was a Russian banker. Just normal kind of intercourse like that. So now the prosecutors, the Justice Department, the deep state, if you will, is moving on to try to frame these process crimes and to either reduce Trump's integrity rating, impair his ability to govern, or ultimately, if they find something else, actually to impeach him. But I think it's very important that we look at the underlying fact here. Nothing happened. There is nothing wrong underneath all of this. These process crimes are not to cover something up. What they really smack to me of is why you need to be a lawyer to be president. Because if you're not a lawyer, you don't realize that saying something that would be perfectly appropriate in a normal situation is inappropriate from the president to the head of the FBI, and perhaps criminal. And that the normal boss-employee relationship had to be restricted because of the judicial nature of the proceeding. As guilty as Bill Clinton was of so many of the investigations, he was a lawyer, and he was always very careful not to intervene. In fact, at one point, Louis Freeh, the director of the FBI, said that in 6 years he had never spoken to the president about anything except meeting him casually at social functions in which they just said hello to each other. That was how it had deteriorated, that relationship, because Clinton wasn't going to say anything because he was worried about this kind of secondary investigation and secondary scandal. Well, look, Donald Trump's presidency means far too much to this country, and the potential for change he represents is far too important to have it engulfed and drowned in the miasma of these phony little process crimes that it may not pass muster in a law school course, but they aren't worth discrediting, defaming, or certainly ousting a president over them.